Shadow people, also known as shadow figures or black masses, are perceived as living, humanoid entities made of shadow, sometimes interpreted as spirits or supernatural beings by those who believe in the paranormal. The concept of shadowy creatures has long been a part of folklore and ghost stories in various cultures, such as the Islamic jinn and the Choctaw Nalusa Cheeto. Modern beliefs in shadow people gained popularity through the Coast to Coast AM late-night radio talk show, which featured discussions on the topic and encouraged listeners to submit drawings of their experiences. Author Heidi Hollis, a regular guest on the show, describes shadow people as dark silhouettes with human shapes that flicker in and out of peripheral vision, with some reports of them attempting to choke people. Beliefs about the nature of shadow people vary, with some considering them evil, helpful, or neutral, and others speculating that they may be extra-dimensional inhabitants of another universe. One specific type of shadow person is the Hat Man, named for the fedora or brimmed hat he appears to wear, and is commonly associated with sleep paralysis and the abuse of the antihistamine diphenhydramine. Several physiological and psychological conditions can account for reported experiences of shadow people, including sleep paralysis, heightened emotions, methamphetamine addiction, and visual hallucinations caused by schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. Deliriant substances such as datura, diphenhydramine, and benzetamine can also cause individuals to see shadow people. Despite the various scientific explanations for the phenomenon, some paranormal investigators and authors claim to have recorded images of shadow people on video, adding to the mystery surrounding these entities. The topic of shadow people continues to be a subject of fascination and debate among those interested in the paranormal and supernatural, with many people reporting their own experiences and interpretations of these shadowy figures. The Shugborough inscription, a sequence of letters, OUOSVAVV, between the letters DM, carved on the 18th century Shepherd's Monument in Staffordshire, England, has puzzled scholars and enthusiasts for centuries, earning its reputation as one of the world's top uncracked ciphertexts. The monument, commissioned by Thomas Anson and built between 1748 and 1756, features a relief by Flemish sculptor Peter Scheemakers, which is a copy of Nicolas Poussin's painting Et in Arcadia Ego, depicting a woman and three men pointing to a tomb. The inscription below the relief has led to numerous theories attempting to decipher its meaning, with some suggesting connections to the Holy Grail, a claim popularized by the pseudo-historical book The Holy Blood and the Holy Grail, and later rekindled by Dan Brown's novel The Da Vinci Code. One theory proposes that the letters are a coded dedication by George Anson to his deceased wife, with the Latin phrase, "Best of wives, best of sisters, a most devoted widower dedicates this to your virtues." Other theories suggest that the letters could be initialisms for Latin phrases such as "Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, all is vanity," or "I pray that all may follow the way to true life." Some researchers believe the inscription may be a polyalphabetic cipher encoding the name Magdalene, or a cipher containing the coordinates of buried Spanish treasure, while others propose that the letters refer to a poem about a shepherdess named Alicia, or denote the names of residents of Shugborough in the early 19th century. Despite the numerous theories and attempts to crack the code, the true meaning of the Shugborough inscription remains a mystery, with the staff at Shugborough Hall, now owned by the National Trust, remaining skeptical of all proposed solutions. The Ship of Theseus, also known as Theseus's paradox, is a thought experiment that questions whether an object remains the same after having all of its original components replaced over time. In Greek mythology, the Athenians preserved the ship that Theseus used to escape from Crete by replacing its decaying parts one by one, leading ancient philosophers to ponder whether the ship with all its replaced components was still the same ship. Philosopher Thomas Hobbes extended the thought experiment by imagining a custodian gathering the discarded parts to build a second ship, raising the question of which of the two resulting ships, the custodians or the Athenians, was the original ship. The paradox is an example of a puzzle of material constitution, which seeks to determine the relationship between an object and the material it is made of. One popular solution is to accept that the material and the ship are not the same object, but simply occupy the same space at the same time, while another theory proposes dividing objects into temporally distinct three-dimensional time slices to avoid the issue of two ships existing in the same space at different times. Cognitive scientists view the thought puzzle as a result of extreme externalism, the assumption that what is true in our minds is true in the world, and argue that studying this human confusion can reveal more about the brain's operation than about the nature of the external world. Some philosophers, like Hilary Putnam, take a deflationist view, asserting that the dispute is merely verbal, and that there are multiple equally adequate meanings for the term ship and the concept of existence. The continued identity theory proposes that an object remains the same as long as it continuously exists under the same identity without being fully transformed at once, even if all its parts are gradually replaced over time. Alternative forms of the paradox include Janot's knife, grandfather's axe, and Trigger's broom, where objects have had both their parts replaced but are still considered the same item. The ancient Buddhist text Da Jiddu Lun contains a similar puzzle about a traveler whose body parts are replaced by demons, and the Ise Grand Shrine in Japan is rebuilt every 20 years with entirely new wood, yet maintains its spiritual continuity through the sacred source of the material. The Sibiu Manuscript, a 450-page book discovered in Romania about 6 decades ago, contains astonishingly accurate descriptions of multi-stage rockets and their complex constructions, defying the common understanding of technological advancement in the 16th century. The manuscript, found in the archives of the city of Sibiu in 1961, includes writings and drawings depicting early artillery, ballistics, and multi-stage rockets. Although the exact origin of the manuscripts remains unknown, a German man named Konrad Haas has been credited with this remarkable stride in history, and is considered the first person to conceptualize multi-stage rockets. Konrad Haas, an Austrian or Transylvanian Saxon military engineer from the Kingdom of Hungary, Transylvania, held the post of Zeugwart, arsenal master, of the Imperial Habsburg army under Ferdinand, and later worked as a weapons engineer and teacher in Hermannstadt, now Sibiu, at the invitation of Stephen Bathory, the Grand Prince of Transylvania. Haas wrote a German-language treatise on rocket technology, known as the Sibiu Manuscripts, which covered the combination of fireworks and weapons technologies, the theory of motion of multi-stage rockets, different fuel mixtures using liquid fuel, and introduced delta-shaped fins and bell-shaped nozzles. Despite his groundbreaking work, Haas advocated for peace in the last paragraph of his chapter on the military use of rockets, advising against the use of rifles and gunpowder. Johann Schmidlapp, a 16th century Bavarian fireworks maker and rocket pioneer, is believed to have successfully flown staged rockets based on the concepts discussed in Haas's work, experimenting with staging in 1590, using a design he called step rockets. Before the discovery of Haas's manuscript, the first description of the three-stage rocket was credited to the Polish artillery specialist Kazimierz Siemianowicz in his 1650 work. The Sibiu manuscript serves as a fascinating glimpse into a hidden chapter of history, where technology and ingenuity may have reached unprecedented heights long before the world was aware of the marvels of spaceflight. While silicon-based life forms have been a staple of science fiction, such as the Horta from Star Trek and the Sandman from Marvel Comics, the existence of silicon-based life in reality is highly unlikely. Despite silicon's apparent similarity to carbon in terms of its position in the periodic table and its valency of 4, the main issue with silicon-based life is that when silicon reacts with oxygen, it forms a stable lattice that cannot be easily eliminated from the hypothetical organism, unlike carbon-based life forms, which produce easily expelled waste products like CO2 and water during cellular respiration. This inability to efficiently remove metabolic waste products would make silicon-based life severely self-limiting. and the necessary oxygen replenishment processes and other cycles required for sustaining such life would be implausible without the release of CO2 and water. Additionally, silicon does not form many chiral compounds, which are crucial for the tightly controlled interlocking steps of energy release in carbon-based life, where right-handed carbohydrates are oxidized by enzymes composed of left-handed amino acids. Furthermore, silicon is inert at moderate temperatures where life as we know it exists, leading to the idea that silicon-based life, if possible at all, could only exist at very high temperatures, in environments where humans and other carbon-based life could not survive. Astronomers have identified silicon dioxides and silicates in meteorites, comets, and other planets, but no evidence of silicones or silanes, which are better potential biochemical precursors for silicon-based life. Moreover, the study of planetary atmospheres has not found any evidence of gases that are out of chemical equilibrium, suggesting the absence of any life forms, whether carbon or silicon-based, in the observed environments. The lack of a known mechanism for a silicon-based organism to carry its version of a genetic code further undermines the likelihood of silicon-based life. And while some examples of silicon being incorporated into carbohydrates by enzymes in thermophilic bacteria have been reported, these instances are rare and still require the presence of carbon. In summary, while silicon can sometimes be used biologically as structural support for carbon-based life, the existence of purely silicon-based life is highly improbable due to the chemical and physical properties of the element itself, making it a fascinating subject for science fiction, but an unlikely reality based on our current scientific understanding. The Silurian Hypothesis explores the possibility of detecting evidence of an advanced civilization that may have existed on Earth millions of years before humans. The hypothesis suggests that there has been sufficient fossil carbon to fuel an industrial civilization since the Carboniferous period, around 350 million years ago. However, finding direct evidence of such a civilization, such as technological artifacts, is unlikely due to the rarity of fossilization and the limited exposure of Earth's surface from before the Quaternary time period. Instead, researchers might find indirect evidence, such as rapid changes in temperature or climate, anomalies in sediment composition, or traces of artificial fertilizers or nuclear waste. Also speculate that artifacts from past civilizations could be found on the Moon and Mars, where erosion and tectonic activity are less likely to erase evidence. The term Silurian Hypothesis was inspired by the fictional species called the Silurians from the British television series Doctor Who, not from the eponymous geological era. Singing sand, also known as whistling sand, barking sand, or singing dunes, is a natural phenomenon where sand produces sound when wind passes over dunes or when someone walks on the sand. For sand to sing, certain conditions must be met. The sand grains should be round and between 0.1 and 0.5 millimeter in diameter, contain silica, and have a specific level of humidity. The most common frequency emitted by singing sand is close to 450 Hz, and the sound can be described as roaring, booming, squeaking, or the song of dunes. Various theories attempt to explain the singing sand mechanism, including the idea that the sound frequency is controlled by the shear rate, or that the frequency of vibration is related to the thickness of the dry surface layer of sand. Some suggest that the sound waves bounce back and forth between the surface of the dune and the surface of the moist layer, creating a resonance that amplifies the sound, while others propose that the noise is generated by friction between the grains or by the compression of air between them. Singing sand dunes can produce sounds up to 105 decibels, lasting several minutes, and occur in about 35 desert locations worldwide, often emanating from crescent-shaped dunes called barchans. On some beaches, dry sand can make a singing, squeaking, whistling, or screaming sound when a person scuffs or shuffles their feet with sufficient force, though the phenomenon is not completely understood scientifically. Factors that contribute to singing beach sand include the grains being highly spherical, of similar size, well sorted by wind and waves, and free of dust, pollution, and organic matter, allowing them to move up and down in unison over the layer of grains below them. Another theory suggests that the sound is produced by the friction of grains coated with dried salt, analogous to how rosin on a bow produces sounds from a violin string, or that thin layers of gas trapped and released between the grains act as percussive cushions capable of vibration. The sounds produced by singing sand have a wide frequency range and can vary depending on the patch of sand, with fine sands producing a weak bark, while medium-sized grains can emit a range of sounds from a faint squeak to loud barks when scuffed enthusiastically. The technological singularity is a hypothetical future point in time when technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible, resulting in unforeseeable changes to human civilization. The most popular version of this hypothesis is I.J. Good's intelligence explosion model, which suggests that an upgradable intelligent agent will enter a runaway reaction of self-improvement cycles, each new and more intelligent generation appearing more and more rapidly, causing an explosion in intelligence and resulting in a powerful superintelligence that far surpasses all human intelligence. The concept was first introduced by mathematician John von Neumann in the 1950s, and later popularized by science fiction writer Vernor Vinge in his 1993 essay, The Coming Technological Singularity, in which he argued that it would signal the end of the human era, as the new superintelligence would continue to upgrade itself and advance technologically at an incomprehensible rate. Futurist Ray Kurzweil predicts the singularity will occur by 2045, while others like Vinge believe it could happen as early as 2030. The potential consequences of the singularity are hotly debated, with some experts warning of possible dangers, such as the end of the human race, and others predicting massive benefits to humanity. Many prominent technologists and scientists, including Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk, have expressed concerns about the potential risks of advanced artificial intelligence and the need for caution and regulation in its development. However, critics argue that the idea of a technological singularity is based on assumptions that may not be scientifically sound, such as the notion that intelligence can be quantified or that exponential growth in technology will continue indefinitely. Some also point out that there are significant technical and philosophical hurdles to creating artificial superintelligence, and that even if it were possible, it may not necessarily lead to the rapid and uncontrollable growth predicted by singularity proponents. The debate surrounding the singularity touches on fundamental questions about the nature of intelligence, the future of technology, and the fate of humanity in a world where machines may surpass human capabilities. French philosopher Albert Camus explored the concept of the absurd in his 1942 essay, The Myth of Sisyphus. Camus defined the absurd as the fundamental conflict between humanity's search for meaning and the universe's irrational silence. He argued that realizing life's absurdity should not lead to suicide, but rather to embracing life passionately in revolt against its meaninglessness. Camus used the Greek myth of Sisyphus, who was condemned by the gods to endlessly push a boulder up a hill only to watch it roll back down, as a metaphor for the human condition. Just as Sisyphus must struggle perpetually and without hope of success, Camus argued that humans cannot escape struggling with the absurdity of existence. However, Camus claimed that by acknowledging and accepting the absurd, one can achieve a kind of happiness and freedom. He examined different ways of living with the absurd, such as through engaging fully in a life of sensual pleasure like Don Juan, or by creating art and literature that acknowledges meaninglessness. According to Camus, the absurd hero, like Sisyphus, knows his fate is meaningless, but continues on defiantly nonetheless. Camus ultimately concluded that one must imagine Sisyphus happy, since he is aware of and accepting of life's absurdity while still engaging in it passionately. The essay suggests that acknowledging the absurd and living in spite of it is the only path to an authentic existence, as opposed to self-removal or a leap of faith towards illusory meaning. Skin as a parasite theory suggests that our skin is actually an alien organism that enslaves humankind by manipulating our sensory perceptions. According to this theory, our bodies are controlled by the skin, which acts like a warden trapping our minds within. The concept proposes that humans were once base forms, but an alien parasite endowed us with higher consciousness. Supporters of this theory suggest that the sensation of bleeding when the skin is cut is evidence of it constantly leaching our blood. Additionally, they argue that itching skin may be our subconscious acknowledging this truth. In this perspective, discomfort like an itchy nose could be interpreted as the mind's recognition that the skin is an alien entity, draining our bodies for its own survival. Proponents of this theory draw parallels to the story of Adam and Eve, suggesting they were initially just muscle without the fleshy skin cages we have now. Skinwalker Ranch is a 500-acre property located in Utah that has long been associated with reports of paranormal and UFO-related activities. The ranch takes its name from the Skinwalker of Navajo legend, a vengeful shaman with supernatural abilities. Stories about strange occurrences at the ranch first gained public attention in the 1990s. The ranch's owners and visitors have described UFO sightings, cattle mutilations, encounters with large creatures, and other inexplicable events over the decades. In 1996, businessman Robert Bigelow purchased the property to study the alleged phenomena as part of a scientific research effort. Bigelow's interest helped inspire a government-funded program to study unidentified aerial phenomena from 2007 to 2012. Some skeptics believe the stories of supernatural happenings at Skinwalker Ranch are likely illusory or fabricated to drive publicity and tourism to the area. Critics point out the lack of definitive evidence after many years of investigation at the ranch by various research groups and owners. Despite the skepticism, Skinwalker Ranch remains a subject of fascination for many due to the persistent accounts of highly unusual events at the remote property. The ranch continues to be explored and discussed by those interested in UFOs, cryptozoology, and the paranormal. Skull and Bones is a secret society at Yale University, founded in 1832 by William Huntington Russell and Alphonso Taft. It's one of the Big Three societies at Yale, known for its powerful and influential members. Each year, Skull and Bones selects 15 new members from the junior class to join its ranks. The society's headquarters is a building called the Tomb on the Yale campus. Members participate in rituals and traditions, many of which are kept secret from outsiders. The number 322 appears prominently in the society's insignia, though its meaning is not definitively known. Skull and Bones has been involved in several controversies, including accusations of stolen artifacts and the delayed admission of women. Many prominent figures in politics, business, and other fields have been members, leading to speculation about the society's influence. The society remained all-male until 1992, when it began admitting women after debate among members and alumni. Some conspiracy theories allege that Skull and Bones plays a role in global power structures, though these claims are not substantiated. Skull and Bones has been featured in numerous books, films, and television shows, often depicting it as a mysterious or sinister organization. The society's secrecy and elite membership have contributed to its enduring fascination in popular culture. A strange blue stone, dubbed the Sky Stone, was discovered in Sierra Leone, West Africa, by geologist and archaeologist Angelo Pittoni in 1990. The stone, which resembles pure turquoise, has been studied by laboratories worldwide, including the University of Geneva, Rome, Utrecht, Tokyo, and Freiburg, Germany. Experts agree that the stone is unlike any known natural rock and must be artificial. The stone's composition was found to consist of 77% oxygen, with traces of carbon, silicon, calcium, and sodium, making it similar to a type of concrete or stucco. Intriguingly, The stone is always found in soil layers dating back to at least 12,000 BC, suggesting it was produced by an unknown, highly advanced civilization lost in time. American artist and designer Jared Collins encountered the sky stone during a gem sourcing trip in Asia, where a dealer had a sample tested by Dr. Preety at GRS Swiss Labs, who could not determine its composition and returned it as unidentifiable. The dealer believed the material was not natural, but the blue color might be organic. Collins attempted to purchase the sample for further study, but the dealer refused to sell it, making it the only item in the room not available for sale. Sky stone material has also made appearances at the weekend market in Marrakesh, Morocco, where it was referred to as kryptonite. Skyquakes are loud, unexplained booming sounds that seem to come from the sky, often causing noticeable vibrations. These mysterious noises have been reported in various locations worldwide, including the United States, Canada, Japan, Australia, and many other countries. The phenomenon goes by different names depending on the region, such as Parasite guns in Bangladesh, mist peppers in the Netherlands and Belgium, and Seneca guns in parts of the United States. Descriptions of the sound liken it to distant, extremely loud thunder on clear days or the firing of cannons. Early settlers in North America were told by the native Haudenosaunee Iroquois that the booms were the sound of the Great Spirit continuing to shape the earth. Despite numerous reports, the exact origin of skyquakes remains unidentified. Hypotheses for their cause include coronal mass ejections, meteors entering the atmosphere, escaping underground gases, military aircraft creating sonic booms, shallow earthquakes, collapsing underwater caves, solar or magnetic resonance, volcanic eruptions, and atmospheric ducting of distant sounds. Some have suggested that the guns of the Seneca, heard at Seneca Lake and Cayuga Lake in New York, could be caused by biogases from decaying vegetation beneath the lake bottoms suddenly bursting forth. The mystery surrounding skyquakes continues to intrigue people, as their unpredictable and seemingly sourceless nature challenges conventional explanations. While various theories attempt to explain the phenomenon, no single hypothesis has been conclusively proven, leaving skyquakes an unsolved mystery. Sleep paralysis is a state where a person is conscious but unable to move their body, often accompanied by frightening hallucinations. Episodes typically occur when falling asleep or waking up, and can last from a few seconds to a few minutes. Between 8% and 50% of people experience sleep paralysis at some point in their lives, with around 5% having regular episodes. Possible causes include sleep deprivation, an irregular sleep schedule, and sleeping on one's back, as well as certain medical conditions like narcolepsy. During an episode, people often report sensing a threatening presence in the room, feeling pressure on their chest, or having difficulty breathing. These hallucinations may be the result of a hypervigilant state triggered in the brain during the paralysis, causing the person to perceive danger where there is none. Treatment options include improving sleep habits, cognitive behavioral therapy, and in some cases, medication such as antidepressants. Throughout history and across cultures, sleep paralysis has been interpreted through the lens of supernatural and paranormal phenomena. Many folkloric creatures, such as the night hag, the incubus, and the jinn, have been used to explain the experience of sleep paralysis in different societies. In modern times, some people interpret sleep paralysis as evidence of alien abductions or ghostly visitations, though these explanations are not supported by scientific evidence. The varied cultural interpretations of sleep paralysis demonstrate how a neurological phenomenon can be shaped and understood differently depending on societal beliefs and traditions. While the experience can be terrifying, understanding the biological basis of sleep paralysis can help people cope with episodes and reduce anxiety around the condition.